usually been in every relationship. Guys, thank you so much for joining me on this week's episode. I'm really excited about this. I love cooking. I try to show you as many recipes as I can on my Instagram feed, but I figured since I keep getting the same questions, mainly about my secret grandmother's tomato sauce and pasta, and my favorite, Bachelor Kale Salad, I'm like, let me just put this out there so you guys can refer back to this video whenever you're cooking. And it's simple, it's easy. It takes me about like maybe 30 minutes to make this sauce. So to make the tomato sauce, you're gonna need an onion. I like using a whole small onion, depending how many people I'm cooking for. When I'm cooking for myself, I usually cook about 4 dishes, so I always have leftovers in the fridge. So this is enough for 4 people. You're gonna need some garlic. You need San Marzano tomato sauce. So I know a lot of people are like, why do you need like a specific type of tomato sauce? This is a brand, I use this brand or I use other brands, but on the can, make sure it says San Marzano. The tomatoes are sweeter. It's just the best quality for tomato sauce, according to me. You're also gonna need some basil. This is legit, I think, the 3rd basil plant that I buy because they keep dying on me. So I bought this one specifically for this episode. I love basil. You can make mojitos. You could make a nice fresh glass of water with some basil leaves inside in the summertime. And I just love dressing my pasta with the basil leaves on top once I'm done. And for the sauce, we also need some garlic salt and some olive oil. So these are all the ingredients you need to make the most amazing pasta sauce in the world. So I want to talk about why I went gluten-free. I get a lot of people asking me questions if I have an intolerance. I do have a little bit of an intolerance to gluten, and I used to have pasta 3 times a day, and it was super unhealthy, and I would get inflamed, and I would always, my stomach would hurt so much. I have to find a picture because I looked unwell. That's one of the things that gluten does. So gluten basically inflames you. I suffer from migraines and headaches, and I talk about this all the time. Getting rid of gluten, it reduces the inflammation in your body and your intestines, and it helped me with my migraines as well. I have less frequent migraines, and I tried so hard to find a specific brand that I'm in love with when it comes to gluten-free pasta, because you can get corn, which by the way is like the biggest GMO product, and it's super unhealthy, so you shouldn't be having corn pasta. Quinoa is my favorite. Quinoa is 4-6 times more expensive than corn, but it is much healthier. And my favorite brand is the Go-Go Quinoa brand from, it's actually based in Montreal, which makes me really excited because it's close to home. So these are my top 3 favorite picks from Go-Go Quinoa's pasta line, the fusilli, penne, and spaghetti. And another thing I wanted to point out about gluten-free, you want to make sure that you're taking a brand, specifically that's why I love Go-Go Quinoa, they have water retention in their pasta. So I don't know if you've ever noticed whenever you cook a pasta dish and then you put your sauce on top of the pasta and then it's just runny water everywhere all over your dish. That's because it's not a high quality pasta. And Go-Go Quinoa does have water retention in their pasta, so you're not gonna have that watery, runny, liquidy mess. But enough talking, let's get started. So we are going to start with what I love to do. So what I love to do is I love to make sure that my station is not super messy after I'm done cooking, because I want to make sure I can indulge in the food. So I like to put a little plastic bag on the side of me. I can't speak today. I'm like, a little plastic bag on the side so I can get rid and discard of all the things that are going in the garbage, and I go straight to the garbage chute. So, and what I like to do is I cut the onion in half, or almost to the half, and then this is very important. When you're cutting, you want to make sure you're not cutting like this so you don't slice your fingers off. Cut where your knuckles are the ones, if God forbid you have a little bit of a boo-boo, that's what you're cutting off, and not your fingers. So I like to have my onions thinly sliced, but not very thick, but I mean more on the thinner side. I like to use 1 garlic clove, and this is my little trick to get rid of the skin. You place your knife on top and you give it a little bit of a jab, and it makes it that much easier to remove the skin. Haha. So here I like to cut them in cubes, in little small, I guess dice them up is what. Now, we're gonna move on to the olive oil, to my oven. And you wanna make sure you're using extra virgin olive oil when you are making your sauce. I'm super clumsy when it comes to cooking or in life in general, so I found this cutting board that folds. Look how cool! And it helps make sure that everything goes inside of your, I mean, it would help if this would be on. So make sure your stovetop is on. So while that's happening, we are going to open the can of tomato sauce. Which can should I go to? This one? Okay. So we're gonna open the can of tomato sauce. I mean, when people say like how much tomato sauce would you use, might as well just make the entire can, and then you can put aside sauce for something else that you're making, like a minestrone, or if you're making a risotto dish and you want to have some sauce inside. So that is my way of making sure that you're cooking, and it's going to be useful for other things, other dishes that you want to be making as well. Because I mean, you don't want to be cooking every single day. I love to, but that's a little tip that I have. Just make the entire can. Okay, so this, you want to make sure that it's sizzling, and until your onions become translucent, a little transparent, that's when you know they are cooked. You don't want to have your onions and your garlic burnt, like I've usually been in every relationship. So you want to make sure that they're not burnt. And then when you start seeing like you're going a little bit crazy, like now, you tone it down just a little bit. Bring it down to like 6. And now I'm going to add my tomato. I want you to come closer so you can see. The tomato, you want to make sure you're getting this out of Marzano with the actual tomatoes in it. See that? See that? Yeah, you want this. Look at that. And then you go in and you just mash them up a little bit. Not too much, because you want a little bit of texture in your sauce. And just roll it around. Mix them up like that. And then I'm gonna use this as my little water guy. Tomato sauce is it needs a lot of attention, a lot of TLC, a lot of love. It's like you're one with the sauce. And you wanna make sure that it doesn't burn. So you're gonna add a little bit of water, and every now and then you're gonna come back to it and be like, hey baby, you thirsty? You're gonna add some water to it. I'm gonna add some garlic salt to it now, so that as it hangs out with the onions and the garlic, just add some more garlic. Let's raise that a little bit so it starts boiling. Oh yeah, well duh. We wanna make sure that we add some basil to that, to add an extra flavor. I love basil, some people hate basil. So, a couple of leaves, let it simmer, let it do its thing. Oh my god, I can't speak today. Now, as this is happening, you want to cook your sauce for like an hour or 2 hours to really get all the flavors in there and all the juices marinating itself. But if you're in a rush, this can be about a 30-minute, you can just like cook it for 30 minutes. Add water to our pot and salt the water for our pasta. And by the time this is done boiling and the pasta's ready, our sauce will be ready, and so will our kale salad. You always want to make sure you salt the water so your pasta is nice and tasty. Not too much salt, but enough for it to have that taste. I'm not going to boil it just yet. At least I know that my pasta water is ready. We are going to move on to the kale salad.